You're invited to participate in a true multimedia experience coming to a home near you. LCM TV is bringing Lake County into the new millennium with news, live broadcast, information, music, talk shows, and local programming, all streaming in high definition online and soon to be on your Roku box. Join us at lcm-tv.com or be a part of our studio audience. You can also watch the shows at lakecomagazine.com as we provide programming to inform, enlighten, and maybe even enrage you. On Lake County Magazine Talk Show with Terry and Pete the Tax Guy, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Like racing? Try the Checkered Flag Show, hosted by Ace Naylor on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. All ages and divisions in regional and national fields. Joni Lane brings a positive light to you every Monday at 3 p.m. Pasha Space brings an international flair as they discuss ecological, health, and social issues in Haiti with people around the world. End up your week with positive, conscious sounds on Saturday at 9 a.m. with Sister T on the Bridge. This show is also simulcast on KMEC 105.1 FM in Ukiah. Our latest show, LCM TV News, is brought to you live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, and rebroadcast at 6:30 p.m. and noon daily, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, featuring national, regional, and local news, weather, and sports. We have it all here for you on your local TV station, LCM TV. Join us online and soon on Roku, giving you access to all the best Lake County has to offer. We are LCMTV.com, your multimedia connection. Tune in for the fun. It's live TV at its best.
Good afternoon. This is LCM TV News at noon. We're not your normal news. A couple quick breaking stories for you before we get into the national news. A former police officer in North Carolina was indicted by a grand jury on a murder charge on Monday in connection with the April 4th shooting death of Walter Scott, which was recorded by a passerby and became a resonating symbol in what the national debate about police behavior. The former officer, Michael Slager, has been jailed on a murder charge since April 7th when the video became public. Mr. Slager's lawyers have so far made no request for bail, and his indictment in Charleston County has been widely expected. North Charleston Police Department fired him after the shooting, which city officials criticized in stark and unsparing terms. In an important separation of powers decision, the Supreme Court on Monday ruled that Congress may not require the State Department to indicate in passports that Jerusalem is part of Israel. The vote was 6-3, with Chief Justice John Roberts Jr. and Justices Antonio Scala and Samuel Alito Jr. dissenting. Justice Anthony M. Kennedy, writing for 5 justices, said the question of the status of Jerusalem is a delicate subject. But he said the Constitution conferred exclusive authority on the President to recognize foreign governments. Back to our national news. Vice President Joseph Biden Jr., who began his life on the national stage more than 4 decades ago under the dark cloud of family tragedy, laid his elder son Beau to rest on Saturday, marking yet another moment of grief in a long political career shaped by it. At a funeral mass that drew about 1,000 mourners, including President Obama and members of the cabinet, former President Bill Clinton, a 4-star general, and members of Congress, Mr. Biden and his family remembered Joseph Biden III, who died of brain cancer on May 30th at the age of 46. Beau Biden was an original, Mr. Obama said in his eulogy. He was a good man, a man of character, a man who loved deeply and was loved in return. The outpouring of support followed a period of public mourning for the Vice President and his family, who spent days beside the younger Mr. Biden's flag-draped coffin, greeting well-wishers through tears and occasionally even smiles. Mr. Biden, the funeral was a sorrowful bookend coming in the twilight of a political career marked by loss and defined by resilience in the face of deep pain.
Baffled New York State officials announced a $100,000 reward Sunday for the capture of 2 killers who used power tools to pull off an escape worthy of Hollywood from a maximum security prison near the Canadian border. That's $50,000 for information leading to the arrest of each fugitive. Richard Matt, 48, who kidnapped a man, beat him to death, and dismembered him in 1997, and David Sweat, 34, who killed a sheriff's deputy in 2002. Their escape from the Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, about 20 miles south of the border, was discovered on Saturday. As of Sunday, hundreds of investigators and search officials have been mobilized to piece together how the inmates got the tools to escape, where they might be, and where they are going. Governor Andrew Cuomo said the pair could be literally anywhere across the state or in Canada and urged residents to be on the lookout. Matt and Sweat are believed to be the first inmates to successfully escape from a maximum security portion of the facility since the prison was built in the mid-1800s, according to Cuomo. The pair broke out with a brazenness evocative of the Shawshank Redemption. They placed dummies in their beds so guards would think they were sleeping while they used their tools to carve a path literally at points through the belly of the prison. It was a sophisticated plan, Cuomo said, adding to the feat probably took at least several days. Although the investigation is still in its early stages, all tools in the prison appear to be accounted for, leading officials to wonder whether perhaps a contractor had lost or left behind some equipment.
Mexico's ruling party has lost seats in Congress, but may gain a majority from its coalition with the small but growing Green Party that was everywhere during the campaign, according to official voting trends released late Sunday by the Electoral Institute. Voters also elected Mexico's first independent governor after reform allowing unaffiliated candidates, a move seen as a jolt to all political parties. Independent Jaime Rodriguez, known as El Branco, has released a 6-point lead in the race in Nuevo Leon state, according to exit polls conducted by the television network TV Azteca and other media. The margin of error in the Azteca survey, however, was a 3.8 percentage points. The ruling party candidate, Ivan Alvarez, acknowledged the vote was close. Rodriguez's popularity in a state that is home to the business hub of Monterrey was attributed to voters' disgust with all political parties, each with its own corruption scandals. The voting, marred by sporadic outbursts of violence, was seen as a litmus test for President Enrique Peña Nieto and his institutional Revolutionary Party. The PRI lost seats according to the official early count. Protesters burned ballot boxes in several states of southern Mexico in an attempt to disrupt elections, but officials said the vote was proceeding satisfactorily despite the isolated incidents. Thousands of soldiers and federal police guarded polling stations where violence and calls for boycotts threatened to mar elections for 500 seats in the lower house of Congress, 9 of 31 governorships, and hundreds of mayors and local officials. The elections drew a turnout of between 47 and 48%, the Electoral Institute stated.
Prosecutors in Minnesota filed criminal charges on Friday against the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis, accusing church leaders of mishandling repeated complaints of sexual misconduct against a priest and failing to follow through on pledges to protect children and root out pedophile clergymen. The charges and accompanying civil petition, announced by the Ramsey County prosecutor John J. Choi, stem from accusations by 3 male victims who say that from 2008 to 2010, when they were underage, a local priest, Curtis Waymeyer, gave them alcohol and drugs before sexually assaulting them. The criminal case amounts to a sweeping condemnation of the Archdiocese and how its leaders have handled the abuse allegations. Even after reforms were put in place by church leaders to increase accountability, and charges are among the most severe actions taken by American authorities against the Catholic diocese. Mr. Waymeyer, 50, who was dismissed as a priest in March, was sentenced to 5 years in a Minnesota prison in 2013 for criminal sexual misconduct and possession of child pornography. He has also been charged with sex crimes in Wisconsin. The 6 criminal charges filed Friday, misdemeanors with a maximum of $3,000 fine each, accuse the Archdiocese of failing to protect children. Mr. Choi also filed a civil petition against the Archdiocese that he said was intended to provide legal remedies to prevent similar inaction from happening again. The 44-page criminal complaint states that concerns about Mr. Waymeyer date back to the 1990s, when he was in seminary and supervisors suggested his past sexual promiscuity and alcohol abuse made him a poor candidate for priesthood. Civil cases against the Archdiocese and priests have poured in since 2013, when the Minnesota State Legislature passed the Child Victims Act, which opened a 3-year window for filing lawsuits involving claims of sexual abuse that were beyond the criminal statute of limitations. Many people have made claims since that law's passage, bringing new attention to decades-old cases and creating public records of accusations against some priests.
Several hundred bikers protested Sunday outside a courthouse in Waco over the continuing jailing of more than 100 bikers, friends, and family members 3 weeks after a deadly shootout at a restaurant. Bikers proclaimed their constitutional rights and held signs outside the McLennan County Courthouse. Before they parked in front of the court building, they circled the jail and detention center twice. The protest was organized by the club's Dallas chapter. The Confederation of Clubs and Independents urged members in an email to avoid the protest so as not to exacerbate what is already a highly charged situation. That group is the one that organized the May 17th meeting at a Waco Twin Peaks that ended in gunfire. 9 people were killed and 18 injured. It remains unclear exactly what triggered the gunfight. Waco police have said they returned fire after being shot at. They have declined to release detailed reports from that day, saying that they are still awaiting ballistic reports. Police have said 18 officers, 4 state troopers, and more than 200 bikers were at the roadside restaurant at the time.
Turkish voters delivered a rebuke on Sunday to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan as his party lost its majority in parliament in a historic election that thwarted his ambition to rewrite Turkey's constitution and further bolster his clout. The results represented a significant setback for Mr. Erdogan, an Islamist who has steadily increased his power since being elected last year as president, a partly but not solely ceremonial post. The prime minister for more than a decade before that, Mr. Erdogan, has pushed for more control of the judiciary and cracked down on any form of criticism, including protests, prosecuting those who insult him on social media, but his efforts appear to have run aground on Sunday. The vote was also a significant victory to the cadre of Kurds, liberals, and secular Turks who found their voice of opposition to Mr. Erdogan during sweeping anti-government protests 2 years ago. For the first time, the Kurdish slate crossed a 10% threshold required to enter parliament. Mr. Erdogan's Justice and Development Party still won most seats by far, but not a majority, according to preliminary results released Sunday night. The outcome suggests contentious days of jockeying ahead as the party moves to form a coalition government. Already, analysts were raising the possibility Sunday of new elections if a government cannot be formed swiftly. Many Turks were happy to see Mr. Erdogan's power curtailed, even though the prospect of a coalition government evokes dark memories of political instability and economic malaise during the 1990s. With 99% of the votes counted, the AKP had won 41% of the vote, according to TRT, a state-run broadcaster, down from nearly 50% during the last national election in 2011. The percentage gave it an estimated 258 seats in Turkey's parliament, compared with the 327 seats it has now. We will be back with your regional news after this brief message.
SSS Multimedia is sending you smoke signals, providing their clients with the ultimate communication and multimedia marketing, distribution, production, and web-based services. They feature high-def video equipment and quality audio sound. SSS is your multimedia source, from graphics for business cards to television production, radio, live sound, and everything in between. SSS is sending you smoke signals. Get your message out with SSS Multimedia. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@sssmultimedia.com.
Welcome back. In regional news, a body was found along the Sonoma coast on Saturday afternoon, a day after the car was found 400 feet down a bluff, according to the CHP. Authorities have been combing the coastline since Friday afternoon when an officer driving along Highway 1 near Jenner noticed a white car at the bottom of a bluff just north of Myers Grade Road. CHP Sergeant David DeRosa said, "The car had gone down the cliff about 400 feet and was heavily damaged," authorities stated. "There was nobody in it, but when we got down there," DeSorel added, adding the firefighters assisted with the search, as well as Sonoma County Sheriff's helicopter Henry 1. Search efforts were hindered by heavy fog in the area, he added. Sonoma County Sheriff's Lieutenant Al Vernon said the body was found about 100 yards further down the bluff from where the car had stopped. Officials did not have any information on the identity of the person or the type of car involved.
A Humboldt County marijuana grower was sentenced Thursday to life in prison for executing one of his immigrant workers and trying to kill another one after the men demanded a pay raise, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Michael X. Wild, 33 of Neeland, was found guilty in March of 6 felonies, including murder during a narcotics offense and several marijuana and weapons-related charges. He was sentenced Thursday to life plus 35 years, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Wild killed Mark Roberto Juarez Madrid and tried to kill Pedro Fernandez Lopez Paz, both from Guatemala, on August 25, 2010, at Wild's marijuana farm in Humboldt County. That summer, Wild was growing more than 1,500 plants on more than 800 acres of mountain property in Neeland, near Eureka. He hired and armed 3 men to tend plants, according to officials. In August, the workers became unhappy with their conditions and pay, which had been altered. They asked to be paid so they could leave. He responded by taking away their weapons. He later returned to the property and shot them. Wild shot Lopez Paz in the face, but he survived by hiding in the woods overnight, then finding help. Wild shot Juarez Madrid 3 times, hunting him down as he fled. The final shot was to the back of the head, execution style, according to authorities. The third worker, Christopher Bigelow, escaped into the woods, where he was found by a jogger the following morning. Wild had hired immigrants to work in his gardens because he believed that they were expendable. We're not in a position to complain. It would not be missed if they disappeared forever, according to federal authorities. Wild has been in custody since March 12th of 2012. He will begin serving his sentence immediately.
Officials learned of a bomb threat associated with one of the arriving flights at the Sacramento International Airport on Saturday night and took several precautions, holding the plane away from the terminal and bringing in bomb-sniffing police dogs. But as it turned out, the threat wasn't credible. Delta Flight 2371 landed routinely after an evaluation and in conjunction with authorities. It was deemed that the threat was non-credible. This is according to a Delta spokesman. Customers were rescreened following the aircraft's arrival in Sacramento and subsequently, cleared the plane to the terminal. The flight from Minneapolis landed at 7:21 p.m., but officials held passengers on board until authorities could come out to the plane and investigate. Authorities, along with K-9, searched the aircraft but did not find anything of interest. Passengers were screened as they exited the plane and then bused to the airport's terminal. As of about 10 p.m., these travelers were just starting to arrive at the gate and the terminal.
California court officials plan to let those with traffic tickets across the state appear in court without paying up front. The new rule, expected to win approval from the State Judicial Council at a special telephone meeting Monday, is viewed by policymakers as a preliminary move in a broader effort to expand access to the court system. It was spearheaded by Chief Justice Tani Cantil-Sacoy, who pushed for the change on an urgency basis in response to concerns about disparities in how courts notify defendants and handle bail when someone challenges a citation in court. While many counties, including Sacramento, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, generally do not require payment to contest a ticket, some do. Marin County, for example, tells motorists that they must post the full bail, considered a guarantee of appearance, before a trial date will be set. If found not guilty, motorists are refunded the amount in 4 to 6 weeks. Presiding Judge Marcia Slew of San Bernardino Superior Court described the traffic rules for fines, fees, and trials as complex and convoluted. The new rule, developed in weeks rather than the usual months, would establish a standardized policy to take effect immediately. It provides for certain exceptions and requires courts to give traffic defendants notice of their options in written instructions or other materials. The goal is to let people have their day in court. Neither Slew nor a spokeswoman for the council would provide information on how many counties would be affected.
A Washington State man pulled into the Willis Police Department parking lot at 9:50 a.m. Saturday morning and called 911 and threatening to blow up the building unless officers shot him within a set period of time, according to Willis Police Chief Jerry Gonzalez. This prompted a major response from area law enforcement agencies. The man, identified by police as 38-year-old Dan Hickam, told the dispatcher he had outfitted his car with a bomb and would blow it up if his requirements were not met. Willis Police, California Highway Patrol officers, and Mendocino County Sheriff's deputies surrounded the blue-gray Saturn with Washington State plates, with several holding assault weapons. During the standoff, an officer approached and spoke with the suspect. The officer convinced the suspect to surrender, and Hickman was taken into custody. Hickman then told officers that he had no bomb. A squad was called to conduct the final clearance. While the incident remains under investigation, Gonzalez said preliminary indications are this was likely a suicide by cop attempt. Neighbors and park patrons who watched the incident from Bud Snyder Park, located across from the police station, saw officers turn toward the police station with weapons drawn. Other officers established a perimeter around the scene and directed them to a safer location. Some residents were evacuated from their homes in the immediate area. Hicken was arrested on suspicion of issuing criminal threats and falsely making a bond report. He was booked into Mendocino County Jail.
One lane of Highway 101 near Healdsburg will be closed nightly for a month for work on a bridge that crosses the Russian River, according to Caltrans on Thursday. The lane closures, which begin Monday night, June 8th, will occur on the northbound side of the highway. The northbound on-ramp from Healdsburg Avenue and Grant Avenue and Old Redwood Highway will also be closed at night for the bridge repair work. Caltrans is replacing joints on the bridge. Officials are warning residents who live near the construction zone that work may get noisy because it involves demolition. Motorists are also advised that metal plates will be used to cover areas where work is in progress. The work schedule is as follows: Monday through Thursday nights from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and Friday night from 8 p.m. to 10 a.m. Saturday night from 7 p.m. to 11 a.m. We'll be back with your local news.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon.
Manticorp Tax and Accounting can help you minimize taxation, establish a corporate presence, and save you money. Our over 25 years of experience in domestic and international taxation and incorporation services makes us the best at what we do. Your first consultation at Manticorp is always free, and our discounted rates guarantee you will not end up paying for what you don't get. Try Manticorp today. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@manticorpusa.com.
In the summertime.
SSS Multimedia is sending you smoke signals, providing their clients with the ultimate communication and multimedia marketing, distribution, production, and web-based services. They feature high-def video equipment and quality audio sound. SSS is your multimedia source, from graphics for business cards to television production, radio, live sound, and everything in between. SSS is sending you smoke signals. Get your message out with SSS Multimedia. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@sssmultimedia.com.
And we're back. In local news, as a follow-up to our story on Friday, the Pennellville Pomo Rancheria has downsized its plans for a medical marijuana farm, at least for now, as it continues to explore what will and won't be tolerated by law enforcement officials. The initial plan, backed by a Kansas investment company that funds tribal economic projects like casinos and now marijuana operation, called for a 10 million pot growing operation in multiple greenhouses spanning some 110,000 square feet on the tribe's rancheria just north of Ukiah. As construction on the Ukiah venture began this week in a clear view of cars driving down Highway 101, it was clear that Pennellville's project is starting out a bit smaller than initially planned. Mike Canales, who heads the tribe's business board, said the tribe is sticking close to the county's 25 plant per parcel limit for now. We're just staying within the law. To do that, the tribe, which has created a nonprofit organization to run the operation, will be growing up to 25 plants each on separate parcels throughout the 99-acre rancheria. It was also potentially could cultivate marijuana on another 100 acres it owns near a residential subdivision, but has promised the residents of the neighborhood it will not. The tribe's initial plan apparently had been stymied by conflicting opinions about what the law allows. Canales has met with Mendocino County Sheriff Tom Ullman, but they failed to reach agreement on what is acceptable and what is not. The land where a garden currently is being constructed is not held in federal trust, which typically is exempt from local regulations, and the sheriff contends the tribe is limited to the same 25 plants per parcel maximum as everyone else in the county. Canales contends that as a sovereign nation, the tribe is not subject to the county's regulations and said the tribe may test the limits. In addition to growing cannabis, the 250-member tribe plans to build a medical marijuana dispensary that will focus on filling prescriptions from pot-based pills and edibles.
CAL FIRE officials on Saturday were investigating a 22-acre wildfire off Highway 20 near the Lake Colusa County lines. Several passers-by reported the fire just west of Wilbur Springs Road around 8 p.m. Friday. It took nearly 4 hours and 60 firefighters to contain the wildfire. 2 of their air tankers were also called in to drop the retardant on the blaze. Saturday, firefighters were still out at the scene patrolling and mopping up hot spots. "We want everyone to be careful," Blankenship said, according to the drought, adding that the drought has increased fire risk. Everything is extremely dry.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Okay. The Clear Lake City Council had its first budget workshop for the new fiscal year starting July 1st. The purpose of the meeting was to review goals and priorities the council set approximately 3.5 years ago, as well as determine if any new goals are needed. Set budgeted priorities, which includes economic development, finance, public safety, and code enforcement, were left untouched. Short of removing completed goals such as the dissolution of the Clear Lake Redevelopment Agency, known as the CRA, lowering health insurance costs, and computer system upgrades. When on the topic of economic development, the council discussed the implementation of the Lakeshore Drive Downtown Corridor Plan. Last month, nearly $2.4 million in Series A bonds from the former CRA were reallocated to help fund multiple projects in the corridor plan, including the drafting of master plans for Austin and Redbud Park, property acquisitions, and improvements to Highlands Park. Other economic development goals include completing the city's general plan update and environmental impact report, as well as beginning the process to update the zoning code and map. Another budget meeting is scheduled. We will bring you the date and time once it is announced.
A 52-year-old Clear Lake woman suffered major injuries after she lost control of her car and drove off Highway 29 and down an embankment near Old Lolly Toll Road in Napa County early Sunday morning. Tracy Odetta Prosser was driving alone just after 2 a.m. when she failed to negotiate a curve in the roadway and drove over the embankment, according to the CHP. The CHP said she traveled about 50 feet down the steep embankment before the car she was driving, a 97 Chrysler Sebring, came to a stop. Officials said she was able to get out of the car, climb back up to the roadway, and wave down help. She was taken to St. Helena Hospital. The CHP described her injuries as major, but no details were given about the nature of her injuries. Also, last night we had a 1.3-acre fire in the Clover Valley area of Upper Lake. It was contained after just a few hours, and there was one evacuation that was completed. We will be back with the weather.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon.
Manticorp Tax and Accounting can help you minimize taxation, establish a corporate presence, and save you money. Our over 25 years of experience in domestic and international taxation and incorporation services makes us the best at what we do. Your first consultation at Manticorp is always free, and our discounted rates guarantee you will not end up paying for what you don't get. Try Manticorp today. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@manticorpusa.com.
In the summertime.
And we're back with the weather. It was a beautiful but hot weekend with temperatures in the high 90s. It appears this weather will continue with temperatures projected to range from 85 to 98 degrees. Evening temperatures will be in the low 60s. Tuesday will bring intervals of clouds and sunshine. Wednesday morning will be overcast but clear by the afternoon, bringing more sunshine and high temperatures. Both days have a 10% chance of rain. The rest of the week will have temperatures in the high 90s with no chance of rain. Winds will range from 10 to 15 miles per hour, mainly coming out of the south and west-southwest.
In sports, on Sunday evening, unfortunately, the Warriors lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers 95 to 93 in overtime. Cleveland wasn't the only team missing a crucial component in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. While Cavaliers point guard Kyrie Irving was back in Ohio recovering from knee surgery, the Golden State Warriors had no idea where Stephen Curry's shot went. The reigning MVP missed 18 of 23 shots, including an air ball with 4.4 seconds left in overtime. This left the finals tied at 1 game apiece. The Warriors now head to Cleveland without home court advantage and mirrored in what could be a tough series after many experts particularly handed them the title when Irving was lost for the series after Game 1. Thompson scored 34 points for the rest of the team, shot just 34.5%, as the Warriors lost for only the 4th time in 51 home games this season. Curry was the biggest culprit as he was just 2 for 15 from three-point range and failed to deliver in the closing seconds of overtime. Curry finished with 19 points, did not make the tying layup with 7.2 seconds left in regulation, but that wasn't enough for Golden State. Game 3 is Tuesday evening. For those who were outside enjoying this weekend, American Pharoah became the first horse in over 3 decades Saturday to earn the Triple Crown, placing first in the Belmont Stakes after winning the Preakness and the Kentucky Derby earlier in the season. In one of the sporting world's rarest feats, the bay colt with the unusual short tail defeated 7 rivals in the grueling 1.5 mile race, covering the distance in 2 minutes 26.65 seconds, to end the longest stretch without a Triple Crown champion in history. American Pharoah is the 12th horse and the first time since affirmed in 1978 to win the 3 races on different tracks at varying distances over a 5-week span. He won the Kentucky Derby by 1 length on May 2nd, then romped to a 7-length victory in the rainy Preakness 2 weeks later. Sent off as the overwhelming 3-5 favorite, American Pharoah paid $3.50, $2.80, and $2.50. The crowd of 90,000 was capped to avoid overcrowding, and long lines from last year's total of 102,199 roared as American Pharoah turned for home still in front.
Serena Williams overcame a mid-match lull in a 3rd-set deficit, winning her 3rd French Open title and 20th major singles trophy by beating 13th-seeded Lucy Safarova of the Czech Republic 6-3, 6-7, and 6-2 on Saturday. The top-ranked Williams took the last 6 games and added to her championships. She stretched her Grand Slam winning streak to 21 matches, following titles at the U.S. Open last September and Australian Open in January. Only 2 women in the century-plus history of Grand Slam tennis have won more major titles than the 33-year-old American: Margaret Smith Court of Australia with 24 and Steffi Graf with 22.
The Oakland Athletics lost to the Boston Red Sox on Saturday 4-2. Jesse Chavez allowed 4 runs and 10 hits in 5 innings, while the A's offense was limited to just 5 hits by Boston pitching. The previous night, Oakland lost to Boston by this identical score. On Sunday, the Red Sox rallied for 7 runs in the 8th inning to beat Oakland 7-4, sweeping the series from the A's. Athletics pitcher Kendall Graveman, who didn't factor into the decision on Sunday, gave up just 1 earned run on 6 hits and 2 walks in 7+ innings while striking out 6. With a record of 23 wins and 35 losses, the A's have the worst record in the American League. Oakland ended the road trip with a 3-3 record. The San Francisco Giants beat the Philadelphia Phillies on Saturday by a score of 7-5. Madison Bumgarner pitched 8 innings, striking out 11, but survived 1 mistake, giving up a grand slam home run to Franco in the 4th inning. Norioki led the Giants with 3 hits and 2 RBIs. Matt Duffy and Bumgarner contributed 2 hits each. On Friday night, the Giants beat the Phillies by a score of 5-4. Ryan Fogelsong started for the Giants on Sunday afternoon for the last game in the series. The Phillies won the game 6-4, with Fogelsong giving up 7 hits and 5 earned runs over 6 2/3 innings, taking the loss. Joe Panik had 3 hits for the Giants. Panik's 3rd inning double extended his career best hitting streak to 12 games. In that span, he's batting .387, 19 for 49 at-bats. The World Series champions, who have won 6 consecutive road games, own the National League's best road record of 16-12. After an off day, San Francisco's second in 5 days, right-handed pitcher Chris Heston gets the ball in Tuesday's opener for a 3-game series in New York. Heston, who's never faced the Mets, has 3 wins in his last 4 decisions.
And for our final word, the happiest countries in the world. Denmark's residents are the most satisfied with their lives, according to the Better Life Index released Monday. According to the study published annually by Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the United States failed to crack the top 10 for the 5th consecutive year. The Better Life Index rates the 34th OECD member nations, as well as Brazil and the Russian Federation, on 22 variables that contribute to an overall well-being, including income, education, housing, health, and life satisfaction. 24/7 Wall Street reviewed the 10 countries with the highest life satisfaction score. They are as follows. Number 10 is New Zealand, 9 is the Netherlands, 8 is Canada, 7 Australia, 6th is Norway, 5th is Israel, 4th is Finland, 3rd is Switzerland, 2nd is Iceland, and number 1 spot is Denmark. It appears that the Scandinavian countries, along with Australia and New Zealand, know how to live and live happy. Maybe we need to take a lesson from those countries.
Absolutely. I know Australia is a fun place to live. Thank you for watching. Our next news broadcast is Wednesday at noon. Our next live show is A Positive Light with Joni Lane, starting at 3 p.m. today. All of our shows are archived at lakecolemagazine.com under 2015 archives. You can find all of our other shows there as well. We'll be back on Wednesday with the Lake County Magazine talk show starting at 9 a.m. and of course the news at noon. I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
Have a good day.